Have any questions before we get started?
Nope.
Okay, great. Well, first, I know that, so in looking at the list of folks that completed our survey, we wanted to make sure that we reached out to at least one funder. And so can you tell me a little bit about your responsibilities at your organization?
Yeah, so I am at the Office of Crime Victims Advocacy in Washington State. We're under the Department of Commerce. And so we are the VOCA funders in the state, so we manage all the VOCA dollars that come out, and we also have a variety of different funding sources, so like we manage the SAS funding, and so my role specifically is managing the RPE funding, the Rape Prevention and Education from the CDC. I manage that money going out to the grantees to do sexual assault prevention work.
You also mentioned, was it VOCA? I'm unfamiliar with what that is. Could you say more about that?
Oh, sorry, that's the Victims of Crime Act funding, so that is funding for direct services. It is federal funding.
Okay, great.
But that's not prevention focused. That's direct service.
Great. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
And when did you first begin participating in Prevent Connect?
Probably about a year and a half ago when I started working in my current position.
Mm-hmm. Do you recall when you first heard about it? Was it through just when you joined your organization?
Yeah, it was through a coworker. They had set up, we do, whenever there's an interesting webinar, we always, reserve a room and we just invite everyone to go. So it was one of those that a coworker set up to watch a webinar together.
Great. So now I'd like to learn more from you about your experience with Prevent Connect. And can you say more about, just in general, why you participate in Prevent Connect?
Why I participate? I mean, I think that it is a really great resource to just get different information. I feel like the way that I primarily use it is just the webinars. I think the webinars are really fantastic. They have a variety of folks that are participating. I love hearing from people all over the country that are doing, kind of similar work, but in new and interesting ways. And so I really appreciate that. And also getting the different perspectives, I think that is really invaluable in terms of just broadening the work that we do, our understanding of it.
Sure. Yeah, and I know you mentioned participating in the webinars. That's my next question, was just going to be in general, how do you engage with Prevent Connect? It sounds like, is that primarily how you're using it?
Yeah, definitely the main way. I mean, I get the different newsletters. I think they send out other ones. And then, every once in a while I will go to Prevent Connect if I'm looking for something, like another resource. Like I'm looking, I want to know more about like this prevention topic. So sometimes I'll go to the Prevent Connect website just to kind of search for things that way.
Mm-hmm. So, and I was also curious, I'm sure you saw in the survey too, and you may not remember, but there was some information about just how Prevent Connect is trying to be more active in social media. And just curious if you've used that, and, if not, do you feel like it would be helpful for them to kind of continue to invest in being present via social media outlets?
I personally have not used the social media. I do think it could be a really valuable tool. Since I work directly with agencies that are doing prevention work, I know that there is this sense of isolation that happens for a lot of prevention providers, because for many people, or at many agencies, there's like one person who does prevention, so they're kind of out on their own. And so through the RPE program, we've learned a lot about the importance of connecting prevention providers with each other to provide a sense of community. And so I really think social media could be a way to, engage folks in different ways.
Mm-hmm. And when you reflect on your experience with Prevent Connect, what has worked particularly well?
Good question. What has worked particularly well?
If there was anything, maybe a particular content or the depth of the information that's covered, the format.
I mean, generally, I think the webinars are done really well. You know, like there's hardly ever any technical issues, which is always, you know, it's always super frustrating when you try to go to a webinar and then it's like, oh, you can't download that on your computer or sound isn't working, you know. So they do a really great job of like the technical aspect of it, and then, like I said before, getting a variety of perspectives. You know, like there's just so many different topics and stuff that they cover, and getting people to come in and talk about it. And I think they really try to engage participants in the webinars. It's not just like sit there and listen to them talk, but, you know, like they do different polls and, you know, like have different chat features on the sides of the webinar that I think really help to engage folks. Mm-hmm. And like I think the website generally, the Prevent Connect website, is also very easy to navigate and find what I'm looking for.
Any thoughts maybe on what could be improved?
I don't know. I know, so this is just kind of like a small thing that I know is super difficult when you're planning trainings and stuff, that a lot of the webinars are provided at the same time. It's like Wednesdays from like 11 to 12:30, and I have a standing meeting every Wednesday at noon. So like, one of my things would be like to have more variety in the timing of the things. And I know that you can go in and rewatch the webinars, but like the whole point of attending a live webinar is that there's like the incentive of like, I'm going to do it at this time, because if you don't do it then chances are I'm not going to go in and watch it. Mm-hmm. So that would be one suggestion, I guess.
Thank you. And if you think of anything else, please let me know.
Yeah.
I'm also curious, how have you or your organization increased your skills and knowledge following your participation in Prevent Connect? So potentially increasing your knowledge or awareness of different evidence-informed approaches, or the ability to select evidence prevention approaches to kind of fit your own content. What comes to mind when you think about what you or your organization has learned?
I mean, I definitely think that, you know, everyone that I work with really values the different resources that are available both through the webinars and on the website. Like every time we watch one of the webinars together, I always take something away. Like they had one yesterday, and one of the things was they were talking about like the CDC connecting the dots thing, and so like I knew that I could go online and Google that, and I could pull up the document that they were referring to, and that's something that I've seen, but I hadn't really thought about it in the way that they were talking about it. So it was really, you know, like helpful. You know, I thought that was really great, and so it's something that I'm going to go back and look at and see how I can incorporate it into my work. Mm-hmm. And in terms of like the folks that I work with, I'm the only one that on our team that focuses on prevention. Everyone else does more direct service work, and so you know, they appreciate the opportunity to spend some time thinking about prevention, because it, you know, like it looks different than providing direct services to victims. So like it provides a different perspective, and really not pushing agencies, but being able to encourage agencies to think about providing prevention as part of their scope of services, I think is really important. So it provides all of my coworkers, you know, like some information that they can use when they're talking to their grantees. Mm-hmm.
And so that question kind of focused on your increased knowledge and skills, and you're starting to touch on this. I'm curious, what, if any, actions or changes have you or your organization taken following your participation in Prevent Connect?
I don't know if I would necessarily say that there's specific actions, and that's partly related to just the work that we do as funders. You know, like we're kind of limited in a lot of senses. You know, like since we're not on the ground actually providing services, you know, we're not quite as responsive and able to change things as quickly. Mm-hmm. And especially with prevention, we take this perspective of we encourage the agencies to pick a prevention program that works the best for their community. So, like, we don't go out and tell, like, oh, you